What has been the biggest hurdle in finding a job?
My record is crap. So my record holds me back. My friend had a UPS job for me, and I went and I filled the application out, did the taxes and everything like that, and then they was like, "Okay, we're going to hire you." And then like a week before they were going to hire me, I get a letter in the mail, and I checked my emails, and they was like, "Sorry, we have to decline." And it was because they eventually went in and looked at my record and was like, "Nah, we can't take you." So my record, you know what I'm saying, is my holdback.
Welcome to our final episode of Season 3 of the 98% Life After Prison, a show dedicated to the vast majority of incarcerated people in North Carolina who will eventually be released back into our communities. I'm Judy Van Wyk.
And I'm April Barber. Did you know that nearly 75% of people who have been incarcerated remain unemployed a year after being released? That's according to the Second Chance Business Coalition, a coalition of corporate employers who provide career advancement for formerly incarcerated people and resources to employers who want to provide a second chance.
Today we're going to meet some second chance, sometimes called fair chance, employers to learn how offering equal job opportunities to individuals with a criminal record can provide employers with a loyal employee and help strengthen our communities as a whole.
We'll start by hearing from Anton Sweeney, a formerly incarcerated employee of Flagger Force, a traffic control company that not only hires people with a record, but provides ample opportunity to move up within the company. Let's hear a bit about Anton's experience with Flagger Force.
Anton, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, as I stated, I grew up in Philadelphia, but I was born in Fairfax County, Virginia. And I rough childhood like anybody growing up in Philadelphia, and found myself making mistakes. I wound up going to prison. And once I got out, I had all the support of family and friends, and was able to join Flagger Force and move down to the South.
So how did you first hear about Flagger Force? How did you come in contact with them?
Well, I was having trouble finding jobs because of my conviction. And my parole officer told me to fill out an application with them online, and I've been with them ever since.
How long has that been?
A little over 3 years now.
Okay. Describe your progression through the company and describe the work that you do.
Well, my progression, first, when I started off as a crew member, my job was to just watch my partners back while they did the setups. Lane closures, making sure that traffic does not hit them, the clients that we were working with that day, and also to make sure that our pedestrians and other motorists do not get into an accident. That was my main job. Once I progressed to a crew lead, I was now able to set up those zones for the clients while I had another crew member watch my back. And then once I promoted to an advanced crew lead, I was able to run a larger team, do more dangerous assignments, freeway expressway work, which I decided to become an SEO, special equipment operator, because of freeway expressway work, driving the big trucks that actually protects everyone on the road. And because of the bigger team, I said, hey, I want to be a trainer now. And it progressed straight from there. A larger team after a field trainer, I said, I want to be in the classroom.
So how has Flagger Force helped you transition back into your community and become a part of your community?
Instead of hurting others, I decided to help others, and on a larger scale at that. Everything that we do in the field, we actually help everybody out there, keep everyone safe. And I'm signing up for that any day of the week.
So it's really a team effort.
It definitely is a team effort. You cannot do this job by yourself. Everybody relies on everyone. The field, the office, departments rely upon each other. exactly like a family. We all need each other to make this thing work.
How do you see your future from here? How do you see yourself 5 years out from now?
My next step through Flagger Force is to actually become either a supervisor or a manager for the training department. I would love to see myself in one of those roles. I'm not leaving. I'm going to retire from Flagger Force. Right now, between my wife and my children, we love it down here, and hopefully we can start getting more property, but that's further down the road. You have to talk to her about that.
You know, it's cool that Anton's been able to move up from a job flagging to becoming an instructor himself in just 3 years. Speaking of careers, how's your career coming, April? I mean, when you got out of prison, you were working as a CNA. You went on, you got your peer support certification, and now you have a full-time job with benefits with Freedom House. What exactly do you do with Freedom House?
I'm a peer support specialist at Freedom House. I work with people who are in recovery from mental health and substance use disorder. A lot of time that stems from those who have been justice involved. I provide them with resources, listen to their goals, help prepare a plan, and help get them on the right track with their help.
Cool. It sounds like a challenging and fulfilling job. And you, like most of the people I know who have been in prison, have like so many jobs. So in addition to working full-time and going to school online, you have a couple of part-time gigs on the weekends. What would you say your ultimate goals are? I know you're trying to save money.
Well, I want to buy a house. That's kind of where my focus is. And I worked for so long for so little. Now that I can work for a decent amount of money, I want to save for whatever it is that I want to purchase without having to borrow or ask anyone for help.
I really appreciate that. You're a very independent lady.
I am.
You are. And stubborn, too.
Scorpio.
That's what it is. Well, I appreciate it, whatever.
I think I call it scheduled.
Oh, you're scheduled.
Some people say rigid. I say I'm very scheduled.
Or you just I think you've got your act together. So, we'll put it that way.
Appreciate it.
Moving on, I first learned about Flagger Force through the Orange County Local Reentry Council. What impressed me was the real commitment the company's made to providing job opportunities for people who are often overlooked. Next, we're going to hear from Shay Swerver, the company's workforce relations and public affairs manager. Flagger Force brought Shay on because she'd had experience working with formerly incarcerated employees. And since joining the company, she's become a passionate advocate for fair chance employment. Here are some excerpts from the Zoom call I had with Shay Swerver.
I started with the company in June. It'll be 2 years. Flagger Force is a fair chance employer, and we're really dedicated. Our CEO, strongly believes in giving people, opportunities to work and the dignity of work. And I had some experience working with people with criminal convictions. And so I was brought on to help kind of grow and develop the workforce development program. And it's interesting. I feel like there's been this wave of, since like COVID and the labor shortages, there's been this push for looking to come up with more innovative, creative, like talent acquisition strategies to bring on people who are, often overlooked. And those with criminal convictions are unemployed at a rate of 27%, which, to give you an idea of like at the height of COVID, unemployment was like 15%. And I think through the Great Depression, it was like 25%. So this is a population that's, really overlooked. And Flagger Force has been hiring people. Our jobs, I think, are really amenable to people who are kind of in a transitional part in their life. As this kind of wave, I think, of more companies are trying to look at these talent pools, I was able to get out and do a lot of like speaking events around fair chance hiring and talking about the policies and practices we implement. And as I was doing that, my position morphed into like more public affairs. So what are, states doing? How can we promote like clean slate legislation and beyond, now it's expanding more, but it's exciting.
And when you're looking at formerly incarcerated applicants, are you looking into their background? Are you looking, for instance, at the crime that they committed, or are you just leaving that behind?
Yeah, good question. We look at everyone's background check, and I think that's really unique about Flagger Force in the sense that our recruiters are looking at every background still, because I think a lot of like as technology advancements occur and more AI occurs within like the recruiting and hiring process. Also, there's a lot of third-party companies that, you kind of say, oh, we don't want anybody with this crime. And so they're like filtering those people out, looking at the backgrounds. So Flagger Force, we don't have a policy, blanket policy statement that says like, oh, we won't accept anyone with this kind of conviction. So we really do assess everyone on an individualized, like case by case basis. Essentially it comes down to, is there crime? Does it create like a business impact? And for us, that would be, a lot of times we're sending people maybe from county to county. They're moving around, sometimes even like close to state lines, someone from, we see it a lot in Maryland and Pennsylvania because we have a lot of work in those areas, and the metropolitan areas like kind of bleed into each other. So being able to cross state lines too is something we consider, because our dispatch and internal processes don't have the capability yet to say, oh, wait, this person, can't cross a state line, so we can't send them, because every day and every week our, dispatch team is just trying to fill as many orders so we can get our clients on the road and keep them safe. So
what has the company's experience been like working with formerly incarcerated people?
Yeah, well, I can, the company, I also feel like I'm always a little biased because I've always, every time I've interacted with someone, and when I would, my previous role, like go into prisons and work with people, they're just very dedicated and they're loyal. And studies have found this too, where they are a more dedicated and loyal workforce because I think they're very appreciative of an opportunity, because they have been overlooked and kind of stigmatized in the past. So you do find them more loyal and dedicated. And that means, less discipline issues, attendance records are better. They just tend to stay longer. They're retained, at a longer employment length. And so that's typically what I see and what other companies see when they hire people with convictions.
Why is Flagger Force a good place to work?
I think people that do really well at our company, they love working outside, and they have this mentality, like safety mentality, or we have a motto at our company called safety driven. And so they believe in what they do, of like keeping our clients safe, keeping motorists safe. A lot of people are looking to them. So it gives them a sense of, essentially, a sense of like people are looking to them for their guidance. And Flagger Force, in addition to just, we hire everyone on as full time. And I think within this industry or sector, you see a lot of companies who might be using temp agencies or hiring people part-time. And our CEO really has believed in hiring everyone on as full time. And so they have access to medical, dental, vision insurance, 401k. But in addition to those more traditional benefits and services, we've launched, in the last few years, a GED program. We cover the costs. And then we have an employee assistance program where, again, we are always looking for ways to continually improve these benefits and services. And so the EAP program is 24/7. People can call in or text. And the company, the third party we work with there, they're all like master level clinicians who, can provide like mental health coaching, but also if you like, you can call in and get legal assistance, like, if you have an issue with like landlord tenant or paying child support, you can actually call and they'll connect you with a lawyer and you get like a free 30-minute session. And then if you want to continue working with them, they'll help you find childcare providers. So the EAP program I think it's pretty extensive. Like we really have bolstered that up Like in a lot of rural parts of North Carolina, if transportation is a barrier to employment, but you have your driver's license, we have a program where we leverage our large vehicle fleet and we say, okay, if you have your driver's license but not a vehicle, we'll pair you with someone who's already in a company vehicle and they can pick you up. And of course, this, you have to be in kind of close proximity to each other, but they'll pick them up. Hopefully the person can get promoted to a crew leader. The program only, we want it to just last for 6 months because we want to encourage people to, promote to crew lead. So I think that's a big benefit as well. The issues and challenges we're trying to address are issues and challenges people not only coming out of incarceration face, but a lot of people with, in kind of lower paying positions. So to us, it's like saying, what else can we do to support them?
And you hire women as well as men?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's great to see women. We have a pretty good breakdown, where we do have a lot of women in the field. It's still majority men that I've noticed, or, when I looked at the statistics, but, it's still surprisingly a lot of women, which is really great. And the age diversity too. Like we have people, we have a couple people like over 70 that are doing flagging. And I've met a lot of people in the field too that retire and then say, well, I still want to work and get out. And so they start flagging.
What advice would you give to a company that was considering hiring people who have been in prison?
I would encourage them to do it. And there's organizations out there now within, so there's the local workforce development boards can help guide employers in this space. Also, there's an organization called Envoy who I've connected with over the years, and they will actually do kind of like counseling and provide strategic direction. It's like a consulting firm where if you want to look at what policies and practices as an employer do I have now, and are any of those policies or practices creating unintentional consequences or unintentional barriers from keeping this population from our positions, starting with, do you have a blanket statement? And maybe for each, instead of having a blanket statement saying, oh, well, for our entire company, we're going to exclude everyone with a theft conviction. Instead say, well, maybe the theft conviction only applies to job categories within the finance department. Maybe people with theft convictions could apply for a job within marketing or communications. And so that's kind of an example where you start to dig into the different policies and practices. And there's a lot of resources out there. There's, I think it's the Second Business Coalition, as well as we started working with the Responsible Business Initiative for Justice, also RBIJ, and they have both organizations, resources, toolkits out there of like a roadmap, like where to start. I'm a business and I want to do fair chance hiring, and where can I start?
Is there anything else you'd like to add that I haven't asked?
I'll just add that like something I appreciate about Flagger Force is the opportunity they've allowed me to get into the advocacy space. And, Flagger Force, we're not just a fair chance employer, but our CEO has written some opinion pieces, op-eds in different media outlets encouraging the passing of legislation like Clean Slate or other legislation to help reduce barriers for these people to get into the workforce. So I appreciate that Flagger Force does that and, kind of goes beyond just being a fair chance employer, but also advocating for laws that will support individuals with backgrounds and records.
Listen to Shay, you begin to understand that second chance hiring has been good for Flagger Force. And as Shay said, there are resources out there for employers thinking about hiring justice-involved citizens. There's also a workforce opportunity tax credit, where employers can claim an annual tax credit that covers justice-involved employees. So, April, what's your experience been like? Has your record held you back in any of the jobs that you've wanted?
A couple. One had to do with like a care aide position. The company, I could tell, hired me on the spot, did the onboarding, but when they did the background check, he said that he had to disclose sometimes to the families about the background. And even though my crime had occurred decades ago, some of the families might still not want someone like me to sit with their loved one. But so far, that's kind of been the worst downside and the only disappointment.
Well, that's good. I mean, you've done really well for yourself. And I think just your activity in the community and being such a good worker.
Yeah, I think that plays a role in it. I do have good work ethics. And so when I look at a job and they don't want to hire me, I just consider it to be their loss.
Amen. Okay. Next, we're going to meet the program manager of a workforce development and fair chance employer in Durham called Step Up. Kashmir Bentley went through the Step Up program herself after losing her job during the pandemic. While she has never been incarcerated herself, her 2 siblings and her husband have all done time behind bars. Kashmir was so inspired by the work that Step Up does to prepare justice-involved people for the workforce that she decided to join the organization. Here's her story. What does Step Up do? What is Step Up all about?
So we are an employment training agency. I originally came through during COVID. I had lost my job. Things weren't looking too good. So I came through Step Up in order for them to help me with getting a new job. And so we assist people who either have struggles with employment, have gaps, in employment, or have been formerly incarcerated, or any justice involvement, get employment. Anybody with a barrier, really. And so we lead different training modules to help them gain skills. We update their resumes. We do mock interviews with them and just make sure that they're confident and ready to go into interview spaces, and then also to obtain and maintain employment. And once they're working, we do have a life skills program, which allows them to continue to grow in different areas of their life. So we teach them financial education. We teach them wellness, entrepreneurship, many different classes in order for them to keep growing, because employment is just the basis of what we need to sustain in life. So that's really an overview of what we do.
So Step Up is a fair chance employer. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
So Step Up, specifically for one, we try to hire participants first. So out of our staff right now, we have 4 out of 6 people, 5 out of 7, are former participants. So we consider that fair chance because we don't want to go outside looking for people when we have participants coming through who show up and show out every time. We also do not judge on someone's background. So if you have any type of justice involvement, regardless of charges, we are open to hiring you if you have the skill set. So we don't look at anybody because of what they did in their past. We're looking at the skills that they bring to the table and how they can be a value add to our team.
What are the special challenges that you have with people who are coming out of prison, who are going through the program?
I think one of the main challenges is the integration part. A lot of times, especially if you've done extended period in prison, you've lost family connections. You don't have the support that you used to have, whether it be family or friends. And then also just access to resources. So unfortunately, coming out of prison puts a label on you that kind of makes people not want to work with you when it comes to housing, insurance, everything. If you have a felony, especially, you're not going to qualify for most of the things that anyone who doesn't have one would. And so I think that's the biggest barrier, is getting them access to resources because they deserve housing, they deserve transportation, they deserve insurance like the rest of us. And so making sure that we are able to kind of create relationships in the community so that they can have access to these things, which will allow the transition to be easier. Once a person comes home, it's a very short period of time that motivation is kind of going. Once they start getting no's, it can get, really hard for them very quickly because, no one wants to hear no, but especially after you feel like, hey, I've served my time and now I'm coming home and I can't get a job. I can't get a place. I can't even get insurance so I can go to the doctor. It really does lower someone's morale. And so we try to put that, our face forward. Step Up is that person in between you and whatever the barrier is so that we can get our people into places that they may not have otherwise been able to get into.
How do you work with the other agencies in Durham? For instance, do you work with the LRC?
Yes. So we do have partnerships all around Durham. We actually have a community engagement person, and his job specifically is to go out in the community and make these relationships. So we do work with the LRC. We work with different employers who may not be second chance, but are willing to work with our people because we are putting our name on the line for them. And then we also have relationships with other reentry organizations because it takes a village. Someone might have access to classes on reentering that we don't offer. And so we just refer our people out to different networks.
People who come out of prison often get either a physical labor type job or a service job. Does Step Up prepare people for other kinds of opportunities?
Yes. So that is definitely a trend. It's the easiest kind of route to go when you're coming home. And so what we try to do is create relationships. Let's say someone wants an admin position. We have relationships with different organizations who have those positions available and who are willing to work with different backgrounds so that they can have a wider variety than, I'm going to do landscaping or I'm going to go work in a warehouse. So that is one of the main things that we try to do is create the equity around you can work any job regardless of your justice involvement. We also, a lot of our formerly incarcerated individuals want to do entrepreneurship. And so we also help support them in that and starting their own business so that they don't have to work for someone else and they don't have to worry about, I'm going to get this background check and I'm not going to have this job.
Can you kind of describe the curriculum of Step Up?
Yeah, so for our Step 1 program, we have a jobs week, and that's where someone will come for a 4-day training, and we just lead different modules. So one of our modules is Tell Me About Yourself. How do you talk about yourself in an interview? Oftentimes people go into interviews, they're talking about their kids and their dog and yada, yada, yada. And so we try to zone them in and let them know interview is a professional space and we want to talk about professional things at all times, even if someone says, hey, tell me about yourself. We also teach things like criminal background module, which teaches them how to talk about their background in an interview. This is very important for people because oftentimes they just don't say anything, and that is a disservice to yourself. If you're able to speak on your background, then it kind of gives you a foot ahead because you are not only acknowledging it, but you're also able to show the interviewer the steps that you've taken since then to be, to grow professionally.
You have never been incarcerated, but you know people who have been incarcerated. How has that informed the work you do?
That is what drives me to do this work. When I came through Step Up, I was not intending to be an employee. But being that those around me were in situations where they were incarcerated or either re-entering society, I felt the passion from Step Up, and the work that they did really made me see a passion that I didn't know I had in me. My background was straight administrative, so I wasn't even thinking about going into anything like this. But once I went through the program and seeing the passion that they put into the participants, the other participants who were there with me and had formal justice involvement, it made me want to support those around me And so I pushed that on those who were around me to come into Step Up. They all went through and did Step Up, and they have really good, stories to tell now about the success that they've had. Not saying that Step Up was the only thing that helped them to succeed, but there's always good to have a network of people who are similar to you and who are supporting you and who see you and who are pushing you and holding you accountable as you're going through a transition. And so that really kind of shift my gears. And now I'm involved in 3 reentry organizations. All of my jobs are reentry because it's just a passion of mine. Reentry is so important. And I think oftentimes it's like a cast. Like if you've been formerly incarcerated, then you're pushed to the side and you're looked at as less than. And so I think that's just something that I wish could be different in our society, because we all make mistakes. They're no different than the rest of us. I just want to let anyone know that if you're reentering, please get a community around you. You cannot do it alone, regardless of how strong you are. You need people around to support you, whether it's even just verbal support. We all have those days when we're feeling down. You might need to call somebody. And that is one thing that Step Up does well. We support 100 degrees, 360 degrees. We don't just support in one area. We support in all of life. And so I think that is something that, makes us different from other organizations that do similar work.
I was introduced to Step Up through my local reentry council. I went through the program and became an ambassador. They connected me to a lot of resources, helped me redo my resume, and since then, they've asked me to be their keynote speaker for their fundraiser. I'm very connected to Step Up, and anyone that can donate time and money to this organization, I would encourage you to do so.
They were even interested in you as a possible employee at one point, weren't they?
Yeah, a couple of different times. They reach out whenever there's an opportunity. And I would love to work with them. It's a longer drive than I would like, but maybe down the road, I still may revisit that idea.
Okay. Well, that's our show today, and that's the last show for this season. We're going to take a break before starting production on season number 4. But we'd love to hear from you, and we want you to give us feedback or suggest an idea for a show. So if you want to do that, you can email us at 98%.lifeafter@gmail.com. Again, that's 98%.lifeafter@gmail.com.
We hope you like the show and you will tell your friends to tune in to the 98% Life After Prison podcast. Make sure that you vote. Your vote counts, and we can't change the world without you.